Welcome back to our WordPress tutorial series put on by the UCF College of Sciences Web Department. Please note this tutorial covers WordPress 3.9 and versions that appear and function in a similar way. Check out the menu on the right where you can click to view the full video series playlist. You can also click to view the previous video and the next video in the series. In this video, we will cover the WordPress editor in detail, with an overview of the different buttons, using the Add Media button, adding documents to a post or page, and using the WordPress gallery. If you want to jump ahead to one of these sections, click on the links below. Alright, so let's begin. We're continuing with our My Awesome Site WordPress installation, and we have our two tabs open, one with the front end and one with the back end. So let's go ahead and go to the dashboard on the back end. And the WordPress editor that we're going to be looking at is pretty much the same in a post or in a page, so it really doesn't matter which one we go to. So let me go ahead and go to Posts, and I'll just edit. This is a new post. All right, and here we go. The section we're going to be talking about on here is the WordPress editor, which is below the permalink and down to the bottom of the page here, below the word count. So when you first load into your editor, something you may know is there are two tabs over here. There's a visual tab and a text tab. If you ever come into this section and you see a lot of computer code or HTML code or something like that, chances are you are on the text tab and not on the visual tab. What we're going to be covering will be predominantly the visual tab, which is pretty much the whole point of using WordPress as a easy to use editing system, as a blog or content management system, utilizing its built-in what you see is what you get editor, also known as a WYSIWYG. So from here, make sure you're on the visual tab, and then normally you should see two rows of icons here. If you only see one, the icon on the end of the first bar, if you click on that, that will either show or hide the second row. So that's something to consider too if you only see one. All right, so let's go through some of these buttons. We have a lot of traditional ones that you would find in a Word editor, whether that's Microsoft Word or some other built-in or open source project. We have bold, we have italic, we have strike through, and most of these you can either put the cursor wherever you want and then press the button, or if you want you can highlight text and then click the button to apply that to it as well. We also have bulleted lists, numbered lists. We have a block quote, which would just apply styling based on your theme to mark a section as a quote. In this theme, that just makes it a slightly different font and makes it italicized. We also have, after that, we have a horizontal line. So if you wanted to insert a line onto your page that differentiates section from section, you could just hit return and then click on horizontal line, and that'll add in a nice line for you. Next to that, we have some text alignment. So we have a line left, a line center, a line right. Then next we have the Insert Edit Link button and the Remove Link button. Right now, if we scroll down through our post here, we'll see that we don't have any links added in yet. And you may be wondering, well, why are these two buttons not clickable? Well, that's because we haven't selected anything to make a link out of. So if we had selected some text or selected an image or something like that, then that button would be highlighted. So if I go ahead and just select a block of text here, now that you'll see that the Insert Edit Link and the Remove Link buttons are active. So if I wanted to make this word a link, what I would do is highlight it, then click on Insert Edit Link. And this is going to pull up a nice dialog box for me where I can manually enter in the full URL of a page I want to go to, whether it's on my site or on another site, or if this is something from my media library like an image or PDF or Word document or something like that. I can also choose whether or not that link will open up in a new window or tab. And then below that, we have a nice feature where WordPress will let us search for and find existing content on our own site. So sometimes when you pull up the Insert Edit Link button, your dialog box may look like this. If you click on this button here to this little arrow, this will expand, and we can go ahead and view all the different posts or pages we have, either manually scrolling through, and this will do an infinite scroll, showing you a few at a time, and the more you scroll down, the more it'll load. Or we can use the search box here and search the title or the body of the content of the post or page. So for instance, if I wanted to link to our first video page, I could click on that. WordPress will be nice and automatically add in the full URL for me up here. And then I can just click on add link. And now this, because of the styling of our current theme, this is a green link. And if I click back on it, you'll see these buttons are available again, and I can insert edit link. So if I click that again, it'll be the exact link that we left off on the first video. Or if I wanted to remove that link, I could just highlight that word again and click on the remove link button. And now that is back to normal text. It's no longer green, and these buttons are no longer available to use. After that, we have the insert read more tag. That's really only going to be used for posts. And what that will do is allow you to designate a cutoff point that WordPress will only see on the back end, where your post will not show more than that when you have your home page set up to display a list of your most recent posts. So for instance, if I go to our front end tab here, I have our home page set up to do just that. It's set up right now to show the 10 most recent posts. And if I scroll down, you can see the other posts. The only downside to this is if I don't use that insert read more tag, then it's going to display the entire post on the home page. So if I have a really lengthy post, it's going to show the full thing for me, and that's not going to be good for search engine optimization. It's not going to be good for user readability, because they'll have to scroll and scroll and scroll just to get to the other posts in this area. So what I can do is put the cursor where I want the cutoff point to be, and I can either just put it at the end of the line, or if I wanted, I could create a new line and then click that button. And it's going to add this in. And once again, this is only viewable on the back end. So now if I go back to my home page, hit refresh, it has decided when it comes across that tag I inserted, that's going to be the cutoff point, and it's going to insert this continue reading button or link for me. And then if I click on that, that's going to go to the full post, and actually it will load the page where that tag was. That's why, if you noticed, it loaded down towards the bottom of the page here and not up at the very top. It's because it's going to start off it's going to continue where you left off. And that read more tag isn't visible here. We just have that horizontal line that we had inserted. Then you may notice in the editor that there isn't a spot for font sizes or specific fonts. And the reason for that is WordPress wants your site to be professional, just hopefully as you do. So it's going to keep you from being able to go crazy with different font sizes or different fonts, to keep it as professional as possible and have a nice cohesive design from page to page, post to post, and section to section. With that said, what you can do is you can click on this and it'll drop down, and you can see that there are some options here. We have the default paragraph tag, which is the default styling font size for our general paragraph. So something like this is using the paragraph tag. But if we wanted to insert like a section, like a large thing like this that says heading 2 right now, we could use the heading 2 tag, heading 3, heading 4. These will, the higher the number, will generally decrease in size here. So the heading 3 is smaller than the heading 2. Now, the reason I didn't include a heading 1 for the beginning section is because with this theme, WordPress will do that automatically by inserting the title of our post or title of our page up at the top using that tag. And generally speaking, for search engine optimization, you only want one of those on a page. And since our theme inserts that automatically for us, we're going to stay away from using the heading 1 on the body of our post or our page. But you do have plenty of other ones to choose from. Like I said, heading 2, and this one goes all the way down to heading 6. Then continuing on, we have an underline button. We have full justification for our text. We have font color. So if we wanted to make a certain word stand out or something like that, I could click on that, and now that's a blue color. By default, WordPress, before I get to the next button, by default, WordPress has a new feature with 3.8 and 3.9 where it will go ahead and when you paste in text from Microsoft Word or the Office suite or from some other source, it will go ahead and try to strip out any unnecessary tags or strip out any special characters that editor may use when into WordPress. So for instance, Microsoft Word generally has its own version of a single quote and double quote, but now when you paste that in, it'll go ahead and swap out Microsoft's special use of those characters for the traditional web-friendly single quote or double quote or something like that. And when you do that, it will go ahead and keep the formatting in for you. So if you're copying from a web page that has a bold or italic text or something like that, and you paste that in here, it's going to go ahead and keep that formatting for you. Now this next button you would click if you wanted to paste in some text and remove this special formatting, if you just wanted it to come in as plain text and you wanted to format it yourself. So if I click on paste as plain text, this dialog box is going to pop up telling me that we're going into plain text mode. So anything we paste in from this point on, as long as that button has been pressed and toggled, will go in as plain text. All the formatting will stripped out. So now that that's in there, so for instance, if I went back here and copied this just as an example and did paste, you can see that it went ahead and stripped out that heading 2, and this is just normal. It doesn't have that blue text like it did a second ago. And if I toggled the plain text mode off and paste it in here, you can see that it's going to keep that larger heading 2 section. It didn't bring in the blue text, if you just noticed, but that's because I haven't saved that change yet, so that actually wasn't pushed live. So that was a little oversight on my part, but you were able to see that it stripped out the heading 2. After that, we do have clear formatting. So for instance, if we had like a bold and an italic or something like that, that we had pasted in the normal mode and we wanted to get rid of that, what I could do is I could highlight, that block of text, click on the clear formatting button, and that will go ahead and strip out the bold, italic, and it also stripped out the color as well. Next to that, we have our special character button. So if you are working with some formulas or some Greek letters, or there's some other special characters here, if you needed to insert those, you're not sure what the keyboard shortcuts are or something like that, you can always pop this up and pop in a copyright or trademark or a special character like that. Next to that, we have the indent and outdent buttons, or decrease and increase indent. So if I wanted to move this over a couple, you can just click on that a few times and click on decrease to go back. Next to that, we have our undo and redo buttons. So if I want to step back or step forward, I can click on those. And then finally, the last button on here is the keyboard shortcuts button. So a lot of these different things and buttons that we've clicked on and checked out, you can do those same things with keyboard shortcuts. So definitely check out this section. The more keyboard shortcuts you know, the less time you have to take your hands off the keyboard to go to the mouse, so you'll become more efficient and become a faster editor or faster content creator. So definitely check out this entire section here. Okay, the next thing we're going to check out is the Add Media button. So generally, when I tell people about the Add Media button, I tell them this is going to let you add in pictures, add in documents, different things like that, or add in a WordPress gallery. So the first thing you want to do is probably move your cursor to where you want that content to come in. So if I wanted to add an image onto the page, well, I should probably, put the cursor somewhere close to where I want that. And then I'll click on the Add Media button. And this is going to pull up a dialog box that will show me content in my media library first. It will also allow me the ability to upload new files. If I needed to upload a new image or something like that, I can do that from here. And the third option is to insert from a URL. So if you wanted to insert something or link to something on another website, you could do that. I generally tell people to stay away from that just because you don't know how long that site's going to be up. If that picture or something is going to get flagged as a copyright infringement or something bad and you may get pulled down at a certain date, then that would break the content on your site. So generally, you might want to stick with the insert media, and that can be uploaded directly from your computer, or if it's something that's already existing in your media library. So for this example, I'm going to show you two different things. So if I wanted to insert an image that's already in my library, I can click on Media Library and then click on the image. And then I'll click Insert into Post. And it's gone ahead and inserted it right where I had the cursor before. And then if I click on the image, I can click on this pencil tool to edit it. So that will let me do some fine tweaking. Don't worry, I'll go over all these options here in just a second. And then if I wanted to delete it, I can go ahead and click on this X here. So let's go ahead and look at those options again. So I did Add Media. I clicked on this picture. And then over here on the right, we have a whole bunch of different options and some useful information. So starting up at the top here, we have the name of the original file. We have the date it was uploaded, its current size. If I wanted to edit the image, I can click Edit Image, and that would take me into the image editor straight from here. So if I needed to do some fine tweaking, for instance, if I wanted to rotate this or flip it or something like that, I could go ahead and do that directly from the editor. I don't want to do that, so let me go ahead and cancel. I can permanently delete this if I realized, oh, I think this is the image that I want. No, it's not, and I needed to upload a new one. I could delete this one and then add a new one. I have the very important title of the image. Anytime you upload a file, whether it's an image or a document or something like that, you definitely want to make sure it has a relevant and good title. So something that you can search for at a later date. So you definitely don't want your images to be like the stock, random selection of letters and numbers that may happen when you take a photo with your cell phone or with a professional camera or something. So definitely give this a unique, useful title. If you wanted this image to have a caption below the image when you insert it on the page, I could just type that into the caption field here. The alt text will just be for people with screen readers or for search engines that scan your page. It'll let them know what that image is about because they can't detect and tell what an image is, but they have this tag here that'll let them know this is a picture of a person, or this is a picture of a poster or a car or something like that. So you just enter in relative information there. The description is more for your personal use on the back end. Most themes don't make use of this. Then below that, we have the attachment display settings. So this is where we can determine how we want the image to appear on the page, if we want it to link to anything, and what size we want to use. So we have a few options for alignment. We have left, which means the image will go on the left, and any existing content on the page, whether it's text or other images, will be on the right. So for instance, we will insert this image on the left next to a block of text. So the image will go on the left, the text will go on the right. If we choose center, the image will be on the center of the line and the text will be below it on a new line. If we do right, then the text or other content will be on the left and the image will be on the right. If we choose none, that'll mean we just want the image to be on its own line and the rest of the content will flow naturally around it. Not around it in the same way as left or right, but it'll just be on its own line. We'll use left for this example. And then you can choose what this will link to. Most of the time when you insert a picture onto a page, you just want it to be that. You don't want it to necessarily be a link to something else. But if you did, then you could choose media file, which would be the full-size version of the image. Attachment page really isn't used a whole lot. That is just a WordPress template for displaying documents or images. You could do a custom URL. So for instance, if you had an image on a page that linked to a document or another website or another page, you could paste that in here. And then below, we're going to go ahead and just choose none because we just want this to be an image on the page. And then we have the image size. So anytime you upload an image, WordPress will do its best to create a few different sizes for you. There will be the full-size image, an image thumbnail, a small version of the image, a medium version of the image, and a large version of the image. So because this image was really small to begin with, its full size is only 150 by 127. WordPress has a thumbnail or full size version. So we'll just go ahead, because it's so small, we'll choose full size, and then we'll click Insert into Post. And there we can see the image has been put on the left, the text is on the right. It's not a link to anything. As you can see, these aren't highlighted. If I wanted to change any of these settings, I could click on the pencil tool, and I can adjust the caption. I could adjust the alternative text. If I wanted this to appear in the center, we could do that. If I want to adjust where it links to. If you do know any CSS code or anything like that, you can paste that in here. So if I update that, we see the caption is below it. This is on its own line, just like we specified, and that other text is below it as well. So that's just an easy way to insert an image onto a page. Now the next section is adding a document to a post or a page. And what I mean by that is if you wanted to insert a link to a document, there's two different ways you can do that. There's a short way, it's a little bit of a cheat, and then there's a long way. So if I wanted to insert my document on this new line here, I can, let me show you the long way first. Let me open up a new tab for my media library. So I could go to my media library. I have a document that's already uploaded, so I could click on that. And then remember, we don't want the permalink, we want the file URL. So I'll go ahead and copy the full file URL. I'll go back here. I will type out some text. Then I'll highlight it. Then I'll click on Insert Edit Link. Then I will paste in that full URL and hit Add Link. And there we go. So if I update this real quick, we have our picture caption from before, and now we have a link to that example document. Now that's the long way. So the long way is to go to the media library, get the full file URL, come back here, type out some text, highlight it, click on the Insert Edit Link button, and paste in that link. The short way would be to, all right, so we'll start out with a brand new line. I'll click Add Media. If I wanted, I could search through this either by using the search tool or just scrolling through all the ones I have here. Sometimes your theme will allow you to use this drop down here. This drop down will let you narrow down or filter the different items in your media library. You could filter it down to items that had just been uploaded to this post. So if you're editing an existing post or page and you know you've added an image here before, you can narrow it down to that. You can narrow it down to images, audio, or video. Some themes will actually have more options for PDFs or documents, Word documents, or Office Suite things here. So let me go ahead and click on example PDF. You see there isn't, in the attachment display settings, they've removed the options that were related to the images as far as alignment and things like that. We are left with the link to, so I definitely want this to link to the file. So I'll leave that. Click Insert into Post. So there we have the link. It's all ready to go, but it may not be the title that we want. As you can see, it based it on the title of the document, which is good because we want the title of the document stored in our media library to be something that's searchable and that's something that is relevant and makes sense, but it may not make sense when we insert it into our page. So what we can do is highlight everything except for the first and the last character, and then we can go ahead and just start typing out what we want this link to be. If I didn't do that and say I just, started erasing characters and started typing out, oh, click here, you'll notice that the link has gone away because I backspaced out of it. So in order to get around that, you just highlight everything except for the first and last characters, then start typing out what you want the actual link to be. And then you can just trim off the beginning and the end. And then that will allow you to do the same thing, just with fewer steps. So if we refresh, all right, we have the same thing, same link, same document that pops up, but a lot fewer steps. So once again, in order to do it this way, all we did was, so we started out with a new line, hit the Add Media button, found our document, clicked Insert, and then just highlighted everything except the first and the last and typed out what we wanted for the title. And that's the easy way to add a document to a post or a page. Now, the last thing we're going to cover is adding or using a WordPress gallery to a post or page. So say you have a bunch of photos that you want to display on a page in a nice orderly fashion with some columns or something like that. WordPress will allow you to do that really easily without having to add another plugin or do something crazy like that, or using something like Flickr or another site like that. If you are going to be doing tons of photos or something along those lines, then I would recommend using a third-party service like Flickr. The WordPress gallery is great, but sometimes if you're going to be adding tons of photos, you may want to use a third-party service that, that's their bread and butter. That's what they're known for. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if you just want to insert a few images or something like that, you can definitely do that. So let's go ahead. We'll just erase this link here, and I'll click on the Add Media button again. And this time what I want to do, I've got a couple images here. Let me go ahead and add a few more. So I will click on Upload Files, and I can either, if I had them on the desktop somewhere, I could click and drag them on here and upload. But let me go ahead and pull this up. I'll go into my pictures. I will go into this folder, I'll just grab all of them. So when I clicked on Select Files, it opened up a traditional dialog box. And it's going to upload these all at the same time for me. So I'll let this finish up real quick. Okay, so I did that. It actually went ahead and selected all these for me. So now if I click Insert into Post, it's going to add them all individually, and that's not necessarily what I wanted. So if you do that, you could have really large images, and that may not be the desired effect. What we can do, if we click on Add Media again, we have all these files. If you notice up here in the top left, we're in the Insert Media tab. If we wanted to go to the Gallery tab, we can click on that, Create Gallery. This by default will now filter down to images, and then I can, cherry pick exactly which ones I want to go ahead and insert into this gallery. And as you can see down at the bottom here, every time I click on one, it shows up here. If you're down here, you can actually drag and drop these to reorder them on the fly. You can do that here. You can actually continue doing that at a later step. It's a little easier, and the image is a little bit bigger to see. So I can click on those. As I click on each one, if I wanted to give it a caption, so my images inside the gallery each had little captions or something, I could go ahead and type those out. The next step is going to be create a new gallery. So I'll go ahead and click on that. This will give me one last option to rearrange them, one last option to caption them. And what WordPress is going to do for me, if you remember back when I was talking about the images when we inserted it, I was talking about the different sizes. WordPress is going to use that thumbnail image that it automatically created for all of these and use that as a uniform picture, like kind of a preview thumbnail for the gallery. And then when you click on that thumbnail, it'll open up the full-size image for me. So, I could, say I don't want that one in here. I could give these options or captions, and then come up here to gallery settings. I can adjust where these are going to link to. Don't want to use attachment page. I want to actually go to the full size media files. And then I can designate how many columns I want. So let's go with 3. If I wanted to randomize this order, I could do that by clicking on random order. And then I can click on insert gallery. And this is the preview of what it'll look like. So let me go ahead and hit update and push that live. Now, if I reload this page, I have a nice gallery that's been added to the page here, or the post here. And now if I click on one of these, it will open up full size for me. And that is an easy example of adding a WordPress gallery to a post or a page. I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this. The WordPress editor has tons of options, and it's pretty much up to you of what you want to do with those. You can get super, it could be super simple or super, carried away if you want. So that's up to you. If you have any questions or anything like that, please contact us. Let us know. Please like this video and check out the other videos in the series.